If 1,000 points of light will solve America's social problems, we need to clone Mimi Silbert. Now, she is a beacon with an approach that's as special as her own personality. She takes ex-convicts, society's losers, from the bottom of the heap and transforms them into responsible, well-paid members of the community. The next time somebody's talking about how our criminal population is rising and that we're out of solutions, you can tell them about the power of Mimi. Californians know about it. This is home to her business of turning lives around.
The Soviet consulate used to be in this elegant gray mansion fashionably located atop a hill in San Francisco. Now, these administrative offices are a bastion of capitalism, a place where, if you could eavesdrop on a boardroom discussion, you'd hear some high-level wheeling and dealing going on.
I'm assuming $2.50 a square foot. I myself am negotiating the Embarcadero buildings, which really can be developed.
The chairperson here is Mimi Silbert. The foundation is called Delancey Street. The men and women in suits, her board members, have resumes from some pretty famous institutions.
Were you in California or only in Washington? California,
I was in California, too. I was in San Quentin and Folsom.
Justice Department experts and many others are interested in this organization for two reasons. It brings in $6 million a year as a business, and it works so well in rehabilitating hardcore addicts and criminals that when they put on their suits and ties, it's hard to tell the ex-convicts from the consultants.
I was a thief.
It's okay if we put some over on this side.
I did anything and everything for money, and I really didn't think I'd ever really actually clean up and become like a regular kind of a person that didn't use drugs.
Well, during the holidays, Louise Likerman now helps operate Christmas tree lots that earn $1 million a year for Delancey Street.
If you were to tell me that I would have been in Delancey Street 4 years ago, I would have laughed at you. I would have said it wouldn't have been possible, that I didn't want to change.
Alan Louts, a former bank robber, is part of another enterprise run by Delancey Street, a moving company, which, by the way, has never had a reported theft. The foundation is named for a neighborhood which, at the turn of this century, was crowded with unskilled immigrants. These residents are training, in a way, to become immigrants into the mainstream of society. Each has to learn 3 marketable skills. Delancey Street has provided that backing by letting them earn their way through. And it's done so since the early 70s with an entrepreneurial flair that's created a number of valuable business assets and a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio.
There's a Christmas coat right here, right over
But the heart and soul of this operation is its 5-foot, 95-pound director, Mimi Silbert. She's the one who, from the beginning, sees that the residents are well-dressed.
Ready.
She arranges for suits and shoes and other clothes to be donated by major fashion designers. She got involved in Delancey Street when she was living with one of the founders, an addict and alcoholic named John Mayer, who left in 1985 and died last year of a heart attack.
What happens with people who look at this and say, yeah, she's a bleeding heart liberal, we've had enough of those, why should we sit still and listen to this?
I never have deluded myself that the people coming into Delancey Street are nice. They are not nice. When they come in here, they are vicious, they are violent, they are antisocial, they hate most of what goes on. All that's true. My whole point is, at some point, we need to find a way to no longer make it true. It must change.
Everybody else is stacked.
Was there ever a period when you had to adjust your behavior so that these ex-cons would accept a female as a role model? Or has that always been something that existed here?
No, at the beginning, it was really difficult. I had, a lot of strikes against me. I was not only a woman in a prison world, which is very macho-oriented. I was a professional. I was not a drug addict, which was really held against me. What do you know? You never shot dope. And one day I finally had to yell back. And it was terrific for me to have to do it and say to them, Yeah, thank God I was never a drug addict. You don't have to be a drug addict to learn how to be a decent person. You're here to learn how to be more like me.
This was Delancey Street's main neighborhood when we first visited the project almost a year ago. Not the mansion where the offices are located, but the building in a rundown area of San Francisco where the residents live. From the moment they move into these dormitory-like rooms, residents enter an environment totally out of character with ex-cons.
Day one, I was just sitting around looking at everybody, and everybody looked so nice and very helpful, and people were sweeping and looked happy, and people were in the kitchen cooking and looked happy, and I thought, where's the drug addicts? You know, where's the people that are in Delancey Street? And I thought, well, maybe they're just all upstairs somewhere, you know, laying down or, you know, whatever. And so I asked, and they said, no, we're all the residents. This is it. And I couldn't believe it. I thought, what's going on here, you know?
Okay, remember last week when we reviewed everything?
What's going on is that just as they did in prison, these residents enforce their own systems of behavior. Except in this case, it involves enforcing systems of basic skills they should have gotten at home or in public schools, but never did.
Paragraph is a distinct part or section of a document, book, or chapter.
1 over C.
1 over C?
Yeah.
As part of a high school equivalency requirement, even the teaching staff is made up of residents.
How many of you had that?
Mimi's extended family at work.
We try to make our whole lives a neighborhood in which some of the older people who really are never going to be hot shots in life can be wise and can really sit and give experience, and they can work so that our young kids coming in can be doctors and can be lawyers. So there's a tremendous support system.
When she talks to me, it has to be negative. It's like that's her defense.
You know, because you identify so much, you have to identify...
By forcing these residents to become role models for each other, Mimi also forces them into understanding problems besides their own.
He comes to me every day and he lets me know what's going on with him in every way. I mean, not just...
When I think about it, truly think about it, it's scary. I'm changing into somebody that I do not know. I'm changing into somebody that 4 or 5 years ago that I thought was impossible to do.
We have people coming in who have really committed horrible crimes. What matters is that you're willing to say, I take responsibility. I did it. I screwed up my life. I hurt other people, and I want to change, and please help me. And that's really what our whole interview is. We sit down, we ask you to tell your story. Usually you tell it the way you talk to most social workers, which is, you're a victim. Poor me, I didn't have a mommy, I didn't have a daddy, everything
know the
is
drill,
wrong.
don't they?
Exactly, they have it down, they know when to cry. I'm very hostile, I don't want to be hostile no more. You know, and then we say, cut the crap. You see, I mean, most of the time they just say it to get by, but once they've said it, we use it for the rest of their stay in Delancey Street, in which we say to them, I don't remember begging you to come in. I remember you're saying you want help. For once in your life, you're going to see it through and do it the right way. It's going to have fountains and a courtyard, and all this is going to be like a European courtyard. And inside...
One of Mimi's most extraordinary and improbable dreams of change for Delancey Street, a dream we saw underway on this visit last March, was taking shape on a triangle of land near the San Francisco waterfront. These residents of Delancey Street were building, to city codes, a huge complex with new living quarters for themselves to replace the deteriorating buildings in which they lived. With the help of San Francisco's unions, they were virtually trained on the job for this multi-million-dollar project, financed not by taxpayers, but by the Bank of America. And to expand Delancey Street's business interests, this complex was also designed to contain public shops and stores with a theater and a restaurant built and operated by the former lost souls who now dwell in Delancey Street. Each one can tell you a story about Mimi Silbert. For construction foreman John Ammirato, who came here with a history of drug addiction, the story was about how Mimi told him he shouldn't settle for just knowing the construction trade. he should go to school for a contractor's license.
You know, after 6 months of me faking it for a little bit, you know, I was supposed to go and I wouldn't go and I had to do something else. Well, she booted me in, but, you know, oh yeah, I did want it. And so that's what I did. I went, and when I finally put my mind to it, went and studied for a month or so and went up to take the test.
Now, what does that mean you'll be able to do in the future? How will that...
A general contractor in the state of California, any type of building other than bridges or highways, any general construction.
I think this accomplishment is heroic, and I really think you ought to puff out and feel and take a look at what it is that you have done. So, thank you. I thank you. We thank you. Generations locked up in prison.
On this wet and chilly spring day, Mimi Silbert marched out into the rain for a ceremony that marked the halfway point of this dream project. The complex of apartments and shops that will allow Delancey Street to double its number of residents up to 700. It was also an opportunity for these residents to show how much they adore her.
You know, I guess like everybody, I never thought that I could build or be part of anything because all my life I've destroyed everything being in jail. I don't know too much. I know that it must have been a hell of a headache.
She was here to pass out awards, but it was really a chance to pass out respect and affection. John Ammirato's time here was almost up. And under Mimi's prodding, he had passed his licensing test and was ready to head back out into the world. Will Davis, who once did time for robbery, will get a plumber's license when he leaves. 8 months after that ceremony, the construction project on that triangle of land along the waterfront had stood firm in the earthquake, and the new homes, bathed in autumn light, were beginning to look like the European-style village that Mimi Silbert had envisioned. Those residents who had spent so much time in training at Delancey Street had added stunning touches of their own to the rooms where they would live. Soon, the shops and stores would be ready too. It was almost finished. But that was the point behind holding the event at this stage. Not a grand opening, an almost party. No professional entertainment, just the Delancey Street Choir standing by if needed. Because, said Mimi Silbert, that's what Delancey Street is about. Almost there, almost working, but never quite done.
There is no such thing as going through life okay. You go along, you trip, and you fall. The Delancey Street Choir. At that moment, you have to gather your own courage up, and you have to say, okay, I did it wrong, I messed up once again, I wish I didn't, but damn it, here I come. I'll build a stairway to paradise with a new step every day. I'm gonna get there at any price. Stand aside, I'm on my way. I get the blues The whole point of Delancey Street is that ordinary people, as a matter of fact, less than ordinary people, our people truly are the losers of this society, can, if they pool their resources, if they're structured and disciplined and taught, and then motivated and believed in, can do extraordinary things.
She is a marvel. Does she turn anybody away, Bob?
Yes, she does, Hugh. They do not take repeat sex offenders or anybody that they think may have deep psychological problems there, because the whole system is based on enforced rules of behavior by the residents of Delancey Street. Even though Mimi has a doctorate in criminology and she's a trained psychologist, they can't handle anything that involves a deep psychological case. So when they screen the applicants, they do turn those away.
Boy, she does make it work, though, and I'm sure not everybody who tries it can make it work.
No, she's pretty phenomenal.
A marvel. Thank you, Bob.